Yeah, so this is word on the street. It's pretty self-explanatory. We talk to the people. We ask them, what's the word on the street. But I should first ask, what's your name?
Hello, I'm Marcus.
How do you spell that?
It's a good question.
Okay.
We're on the street. We're actually on a park.
Or what?
We're actually in a park, but it's kind of like the street.
Yes, we're word on the park. We'll say.
This used to be a street like 100 years ago,
Yeah.
and then they put a fountain there.
Way back in the day. All right. So what is word on the park then? What's the word on the park?
Oh man, I don't know if there's a wood going around the park. There hasn't been like much intrigue lately, I
Really?
suppose. Yeah, I think it's just nice. It's summer. Everyone's having fun.
Yeah. Are you having fun?
I am. And the pigeons are out floating still.
He asked me to ask this earlier, but I forgot to ask it. How would you feel if you were a pigeon? What would you do if you were a pigeon?
Oh man, would I be me in the body of a pigeon, or would I just be a pigeon?
Uh, let's say it's you in the body of a pigeon.
Oh wow. Oh man, I'm not sure. I guess I would try to let people know I was a human. Yeah, because then I feel like you'd become really famous because you're like a
You
human
would.
pigeon, or at least an incredibly intelligent pigeon.
Well, if you were a talking pigeon, you certainly would be. You'd be able to let people know, and you'd certainly go famous. If you can't talk though, it's pretty tough.
Well, you could like draw with your feet.
That's true, actually. Yeah, you could draw.
Yeah, I feel like, and at that point, you hold so much power because no one knows the extent, like what's going on.
Right.
You're like the only one who has it figured out.
That is true. You do. You hold a lot of power in the sense that no one's ever seen that before.
Yeah.
But you're also a pigeon, so anyone you got to be careful. You got to get somewhere where you can get protected because someone could just like step on you or something.
Yeah, but you like so sometimes I think about like why no one uses falconry in crime here, because like there's red-tailed hawks here. So say a red-tailed hawk just like stole someone's purse and flew
Right.
away. No
Oh,
one,
yeah, yeah.
you wouldn't like try to arrest the hawk. You'd
Right.
just be like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
But then there could be a falconer on a rooftop somewhere accumulating all these different like items
Yeah.
with the hawks.
I think that if you're gonna steal something, it's very hard to train a falcon. So you have to basically be a falconer. And if you are a
Yeah.
falconer, you're probably not like looking to steal from people. But that would be cool though.
Maybe like a down on his luck falconer looking to start like a supervillain esque life of crime.
Yeah. There's probably I think I've seen like smaller versions of that. Maybe not a hawk, but like people will train birds to like I don't know, maybe like go and peck someone or like go like take something.
Yeah.
I think I've seen that. It's pretty funny.
You can like monkeys will steal like not even trained monkeys, but regular monkeys will steal from people.
Yeah.
They'll steal your phone
Yeah.
and like make you pay them in fruit to get it back.
Yeah.
I have someone whose uncle that happened to.
Yeah, I've seen videos of that I think online. Yeah, it's pretty funny. All right, well the theme today we've been asking everyone I don't know, what are you focused on right now? What's the main focus for you?
Oh man, right now I'm kind of chilling. I'm going back to New England soon, and I have like a plan. I'm gonna like be working on a farm there. It's just gonna be really nice, and I have like a plan set up to do that. But it's just like going mad slow. I was supposed to be there about the beginning of this month, and now it looks like it's gonna be like a couple weeks from now. So I'm just letting that sort of play itself out until I'm there. Um, yeah, the stuff I wanted to do in the city, I've already done for the most part. So at this point, I'm just sort of about. But it's a nice time of year to be about.
What
Yeah.
was the stuff you wanted to do in the city that you've done now?
Oh man, I had sort of like a challenge for myself. I'm a wilderness survival instructor, and I teach people like sort of like nature like connection. I've had a lot of students and myself as well have really struggled living outside of like very forested places, living with groups of like a lot of people in the city, understanding like city life. I think also as like a rural white American, understanding cities and how they can connect how to connect those two different cultures.
Yeah.
is very important right now. So I came out here and I sort of set a goal to myself to just like live outside for like 6 months or so, not spend any currency whatsoever. Sort of approach this ecosystem like I would if I were in like a normal survival scenario, and also focus really heavily on like meeting people and trying to understand them and trying to understand this place as like a society, a human place, and also as a natural environment, and learn to become very comfortable here, which I think I've finally done, and I have a handle on how I can potentially help others work towards that.
That's very interesting. Where were you before you moved here?
I was in Vermont.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So you set a goal to essentially, out. It's not wilderness because it's a city, but outside you said survive for 6 months and meet people. I mean that's, oh wow, it's really coming down. I mean you're probably used to the rain now though, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Doesn't. Well, that's the thing. You can always choose how you feel. Like this is a perfect moment. It's like you're raining, but what? You get wet. Like it's a bit cold. Like realistically, nothing's gonna happen. Yes, it's a bit uncomfortable, but like choose how you feel. Like this doesn't. We're still going. This is fine. Yeah, that's actually really interesting. What were like some of the? Yeah, what were some things you learned from doing that? Because that's a unique experience that a lot of people haven't gotten the chance to do.
I think like this, like being around so many different types of people, learning just like how normal most people are, outside of the trappings of their lifestyle and like the genre that they, or subculture that they're sort of in. Most people are shockingly similar, and I'd say the average person who's like upper middle class would be, if they were a crackhead, an average crackhead. And if they were a millionaire, would be an average millionaire. If you're sort of a normal person within your group, within your sort of area of society, then you would be a normal person in other like in other demographics.
Interesting.
Yeah, and also I sort of now do see this place as a natural environment, especially right now. It's raining. I mean, we're in the water cycle very much.
Yeah.
Like this came from the river into the sky and is coming down, washing through us onto the ground back into the river. It's very beautiful.
That's pretty interesting. That the idea that, I mean, I guess you're saying if you are an average person in whatever it is you're doing, you would be an average person even if you were in like a totally different scenario. Like if you're a average, I don't know, regular person, you would be an average millionaire. Like do you mean that? I guess what do you mean by that? Do you mean that like
you would conform to? I'd say ignorance works through people, and expectations heavily impact them, and society just sort of works through society's systems just work through humans, and the same thing that make you like a normal farmer or mechanic would make you a normal or average CEO, because the things that influence CEOs to act the way they do would influence you, and vice versa. And it's the same with people who are heavily addicted to like cocaine or opium or whatever. The things that keep you addicted to caffeine as an office worker keep them addicted to heroin. Or the things that keep you addicted to like electronics as a teenager keep them addicted to heroin. They're just in a different situation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. If you're very susceptible to a certain thing or let's say outside influence, then it really doesn't matter. If you're doing one thing or the other, you're still susceptible, so you're gonna end up being whatever the average or the common thing
I
is.
think that really freaks people out, so they try not to really see people because they want to think people have an enormous amount of agency over their lives, and that people become who they are because of people enter into the life they have because of who they are, and not vice versa. People don't want to like think of their self identity as being a product of their privilege or of the type of life they've lived or of their culture. They want to think, oh, this is who I am, so I became what I am. what we are has a lot of impact on who we are, an enormous amount, much more than people are willing to admit, for the most part.
I mean, it's the whole nature versus nurture, and nature kind of sounds like, well, I'm not gonna.
I mean, it's like the pigeon thing. If I was a pigeon, even if I was just shuttled into, if my personal identity right now is shuttled into a pigeon, I would have the instincts and inclinations of a pigeon and the desires of a pigeon and the senses of a pigeon and the body of a pigeon, and I'd probably just live a normal pigeon life. It, the life of a pigeon would make a lot of sense to me, in the way that the life of a human makes a lot of sense to me now. I feel that's a barrier people also have an enormous amount of difficulty getting past is like speciesism is extremely powerful.
What do you mean by that?
Well, people like, especially the species that look or act or think less like us, people just sort of, they come into the relationships with them with the assumption that they're going to be wildly different or less than them, and really we're all just people trying to do essentially the same things. Whether you're doing mating season, some of them act like bros, and they're just like, they got their chest puffed out and like trying to bother the other pigeons, and others of them get really self-conscious when their like pigeon dance doesn't seem to be working. Like, you can read the not so much facial, but the cues of their body and their energy, and they act just like humans. I once saw a pigeon poke another pigeon with the end of their wing like this and do like that to be like, oh hey, look over there. Like, they're just people. We're all just people.
Yeah, I think it seems like the idea is that we like to think of ourselves as totally different to all other animals, and obviously, we are more advanced, more intelligent. But
I completely disagree with that.
really,
No, we're not. We have a different role in the ecosystem, and that gives us the ability to excel in different things, and we're quite poor at other things. And we choose to attribute value to the things humans are best at, and to the things that wealthy humans and well-educated humans are best at. A farmer, an organic farmer, is just as intelligent as a college professor, and a goose is just as intelligent as a farmer. A goose has to know so much about things that I might not even know exist as a human, things I might not even be able to perceive. They have to be able to migrate without a compass or a GPS or a map across vast distances. They have to be able to survive without hands, without clothing, to be able to regulate their internal temperature and be comfortable doing things that would be exceptionally difficult for even people who've done acclimatization work and deep meditation their entire lives. I mean, deer wear not much more than just like a simple wool coat or a wool blanket. That's the layer of fur, and their bodies are basically the same as the humans. But they can like sleep in the snow for months and eat frozen grass and be happy and comfortable doing that. And that takes an enormous amount of control over their minds and bodies. That's extremely impressive. I think in a lot of ways, the amount of tools that we have, the amount of education we receive from our elders, and the way in which our modern society especially keeps us alive, without us having to know much about our own material culture at all, or its inner works. I don't have to know how this microphone works. I don't have to know how they built this table. I don't have to know how they made this clothing. I just have to fulfill a very small role in our economy, and people, largely in other countries, will completely take care of my needs. So I don't think that's really, necessarily a mark of skill or value. I think it's a lot more impressive to not have some of the things that humans have.
yeah, I mean, really, the underlying question here is, how are we talking about intelligence? How are we measuring intelligence?
Yeah, we're measuring it based off the things that we're good at, the things we need to be good at. If I were a duck, and I often like to just, like, as a fun game, like, replace the word, like, human with duck or people with duck when people say something, because they're speciesist, like, oh, that's what separates the ducks from the animals. It's like, oh, geese have nearly duck-like intelligence. They're almost as good at ducks as at paddling around. I'd be talking about how the peak of intelligence, the peak of life is being able to like eat pond lilies and know how to skim fresh water off the top of salt water with my beak, and how to to paddle down a river without getting, smashed into a rock. I would think that was the most amazing thing an animal can do. I judge all of the animals based off how good they were at those things. Humans judge other animals about how good they are at pattern recognition and remembering things and seeing, recognizing themselves in a mirror, which is an extremely asinine test, by the way. Like, if you think that, the fact that a dog plays with themselves in a mirror means they're dumb, and you spend 8 hours a day watching TV, which is a pane of glass with lights on it, and pretending that you're looking at stories of people doing things, and having deep emotional reactions to that, you're an asshole.
I get what you're saying there, but I think the difference is that the TV, you know what it is, it's lights, it's not real, whereas
But our instincts overpower that and surpass that, and so we can have a relationship with it beyond our cognition. And I think if all I was able to see when I looked at a TV is a pane of colorful glass and the remote control in my hand was just like a plastic object, I don't think that would make me superior to the way I am now. I think it would make me inferior. And who's to say that animals are not fully aware of what a mirror is? I would argue they are, because they have to know what water is and what ice is to be able to survive. You see all the time animals acting like something reflective or clear